I've got a number of packages, so let's begin with these, because these are definitely not anime. Arrived yesterday. Voyage, Charlie Brown, and Don't Come Back. It's one of the Peanuts movies I grew up on. And then 3 copies of Zelda Triforce Heroes, because I've got 3 3DSs, but I might just be playing with 3 friends and giving it to them. Now this box isn't anime, but it's anime related, and it is real heavy. So here's hoping it doesn't break this table it's on. As you can see, this is the Attack on Titan manga. I guess I'm going to start creating a pile over here. The story here is that even though I'm not really that much of a manga collector, this one is getting special attention for the simple reason that it is there's a something or the other, whatchamacallit, coming out, manga volume coming out that will have a DVD with it. That's manga volume 17, and unlike other anime manga combos, instead of being an introduction to the manga, that's kind of a thing smack dab in the middle of it. So here they are. There should be 16 of them, but some reordering required. And my temptation is to do an insertion sort, but it's kind of hard to hold all of these up. And this is a sort before I try and show y'all them. And we can do a small optimization there. Fifteen, 6, 7, 16, 9, 10. It looks right. And there's 5. And that should be them in order. Now, I did see that there were like some collector's edition or collections, and then there was some 1, 2. And then there was the 2 colossal editions, which contain the equivalent of volumes 1 through 10. I decided to go with 16 individuals because that's creates some more consistent release, I think. 13. And if you've not read the manga yourself, you might have noticed that the imagery is consistent with what you might know of Attack on Titan up to volume 8, and so that means it could be about twice as much content. And then we've got the anime. Let's get these opened. Oh, the anime's ready to go. Raring to go. Something, something, something. Dark side. Something, something. Complete. Let's see. Sorry. Get that to the side because we got this here. This is a mix of stuff, because I think that's Umi Monogatari and that's a Tamayara or something. Interesting. Well, I guess that answers the question about whether or not this is maybe intended for more female audience. I was trying to remember that sort of stuff because a coworker was asking questions. You know, he's got a daughter who watches a lot of anime. He's always curious about other stuff. And it looks like this one is one of those. It's a Cute High Earth Defense Club Love. See, it's kind of hard to show. It says love right there. So I can feel there's a piece of paper on the back. Whoa! Come on, camera. Focus, focus. And then we got this. Obviously, there's 4 episodes. 19, 11, 12. Subtitles English, audio, Japanese with linear PCM stereo. Which I think means it's not dubbed. Which is, I think, the norm, but Pony Canyon has admittedly only released so much stuff. Wondering if I want to hold on to that. This looks like a postcard of some sort. Although I've, again, been lazy in not opening those. Ooh. Guys. Let's see, down here we've got the Blu-ray disc. Here we've got the DVD. Maybe I turn that to like that for y'all. And then, as usual, we can flip that up and there's a soundtrack of some sort. It says duet songs on the top. So let's see, that doesn't feel too sticky, so it might be okay to keep that in there and make this a little more stable. I do like that thought. DVD deserves a little protection. Let's see. This is not sliding in like I thought it should. Because it was a little pinched. Alright, well that's the big one, Pony Canyon's. Okay, there we go. I see 2 here. Gatchaman the movie. Which I think still looks very 70s-esque on the back. Kind of hard to tell for certain though. Oh, I see the audio there. It says English and Japanese. Maybe that means this has been shown before and this is like its first DVD release or something? I don't know. I really ought to catch up on it, but then again, there's so many things to catch up on that I don't think there's ever a right answer. Once again, annoying. Going back to the lazy scissor technique. Might as well be the drunken scissor technique, given my inability to aim, apparently. Come on. We got that. And this should probably also be the same disc with the same artwork. No surprise, only thing left to check is region A only. Alright, and this is on top. I can't read that through the camera. Buddy Complex. Oh, there we go. Name sounds familiar. Let's see. Region A. This is Funimation, so... Is this Funimation? That's Japanese only. It looks like they're doing subtitle only for this one, perhaps? Which is unusual for Funimation, but not unprecedented. This would be, what, their 3rd, 4th one like this? And I'd rather it be released subtitle only than not released at all. I do just like collecting for the sake of collecting, at a minimum. Let's see. DVD 1. Okay. Yeah, it's really easy to read the stuff. DVD 2. DVD 3. Blu-ray 1. And Blu-ray 2. So it's a 5-disc set. And I don't know what this is about. Interesting. And then, last but not least, Invaders of the Rokujyoma. I don't know what to make of this. I don't recognize it. Region A, Japanese with English subtitles only. This almost feels like I can get this, but I've already reached for the scissors. Oh, there we go. I got it started. Version. Okay, there we go. 2 discs in the DVD version. Bunch of ladies who I don't know. I'm trying to think if I've seen images of them elsewhere on our anime usually. This one's a single disc with the guy, I'm guessing, who's probably the male of this harem, I suppose. Interesting. Because there he is right there. Well, there's this week's anime DVD collection update. So I'm pretty sure I started watching Space Dandy Season 2 after last week's anime DVD collection update stuff. Sounds about right. So let's see. It was interesting. There was a lot more ambiance in the second half than I remember there being in the first half, but it's possible that it's just been long enough since the first half happened that I only remember certain highlights, and there was clearly a couple of things I didn't remember that did come up again in the second half. And there was a finale, and it was an amusing finale, but yeah, I definitely had forgotten a couple things. This is the problem with putting off finishing something too long, is you just forget stuff. Overall, it was enjoyable. I think for me the biggest highlights definitely in the first season, but that zombie episode is pretty out there fun. But then you had a couple other interesting things. So it's kind of interesting because sometimes it feels like you can't do certain things on television, then you can't do certain things anymore, like have something where people take in the ambience with it. But I thought season 2 actually did some of that, and it's fun, and it's nice to run into those things every now and then. Did watch Naruto Shippuden DVD set 2, season 2, set 2, set 24. Ugh, sorry. And it was a bit of a mix. There was definitely some great stuff in there. There was also some stuff in there where we're tired of the reanimation jutsu. This series is... It's not the most intolerable filler, but it feels like there's a lot of filler being filled in that way. Some of it is, I don't care about that, I don't care about this. some of it is. Well, I mean, there were some concepts that they revisited, but I thought that they revisited them in a way that was interesting. Maybe not spectacular, but I didn't hate them for revisiting it. And then there were other things where you kind of feel the series is dragging a little bit because, you know, the series is keeping up with the manga release, or ever so slightly just ahead of it, and so it's needing to make sure things are paced right. And then I kind of wondered if the previous season had gotten that out of its system, but I guess not. But again, it was a mix. It's easy to talk about the bad things, except it's not easy to talk about them because then you have to kind of spoil things pretty badly. And there's a couple things in there that I've already said that may be more than you wanted to know. But if you've watched Naruto, you kind of know these concepts exist, and so knowing that some people would probably think they've gone a little overboard with some of them is not too bad of a spoiler, I guess. But yeah, I definitely would have liked to continue going on, just because it's kind of doing a good enough job of stringing us along, and we want to see what's going to happen. But it's time to wait for the next DVD release. So I threw on Danganronpa because I kind of figured that'd be quick, simple, I guess. It kind of was. I thought it was pretty good. It's definitely another play on the Battle Royale concept. If you're not familiar with Battle Royale, I'm pretty sure it's not the first originator of this concept, but it is kind of the oldest, more modern version that I know of. And the basic premise of that one was, for whatever reasons, a bunch of kids have been brought together at a abandoned high school, and they've been given weapons and sent onto an island to kill each other. And so there's evolutions of that concept. Batum is a really good example of that. I'm pretty sure there would be others if I could think of them. But this one definitely falls under that category because the basic premise is you have all these kids that wake up at a school, and you have this annoying teddy bear who says, I'm your principal. Now kill each other, please. You know, something kind of like that. It's a little twisty and turny. It's hard to say that it's necessarily convincing, but I thought it was entertaining because it mixes with it this, they're supposed to kill each other and then put each other on trial. Because they don't know who did the killing and they need to figure it out. So there's this mystery element to it that I think the two of them combined is what kind of makes it something you can just keep watching and keep going. You're kind of curious. You're kind of shocked. You know, just a much better mix of the stuff than I generally tend to see in stuff like this. Because with something like Batum, I mean, that one was you get exploded and you died. And so try not to get exploded. Whereas this one, it plays a bit more with people not really wanting to do that because there's no real pressing motivation, and then a maybe motivation comes up and somebody maybe dies, and then they have to maybe find out what maybe happened. I wouldn't say it necessarily ended on a perfect note, but I did think it was good enough where if there's nothing more content-wise for this, it should be good. So it's definitely somewhere in between the Battle Royale movie. What happened in that movie? And Batum, I was pretty sure did not finish, and we would want a second season of that for sure. So, I don't know. Those are just three immediate comparisons. Right now, obviously, I'm having trouble remembering everything else, but there's probably other things out there that would be interesting to analyze and compare, but oh well. So I decided to finish Yuki Yuna as a Hero. I had watched the first volume before. I was not quite far enough in the series to understand why people would want to talk about it spoilerishly, but I definitely understand why people throw spoilers in there around there. I think last time I probably talked about how it didn't quite feel like it was living up to the title, per se. Like, what's a good example without spoiling things? And I guess the issue is that Yuki Yuna doesn't feel like the hero. She doesn't feel like the one inspiring everybody else. They seem like a pretty just good all-around group of people, and it's definitely something that falls more slice of life-ish as it goes. And it actually surprisingly stays that way the whole time. So this is definitely not the sort of thing that you would watch because you like to Puella Magic Madoka Magica, because where that one goes, it really goes and really dedicates itself to that concept, whereas this one stays pretty close to some magical girl basics. It's an interesting balance. And it kind of ended in such a way that, you know, the title may be appropriate. But it's also hard to tell if it was necessarily the perfect concept to encapsulate the series as a whole. Possibly. It's hard to say for certain. It was a nice watch. It was nice to finish it. And now I can finally see what people on our anime have been saying in their little spoilers about it, because I haven't been able to participate in those, and thankfully they've been actually kind about not spoiling the big things about that. And finally, I watched an anime called, the first 3 episodes of an anime called Itakiss. It's probably short for something. In fact, I think it's 2 words, but on my server I have it as 1 word. Whatever. And I'm 3 episodes in, and so far it's kind of annoying. Not intolerable to watch annoying, but more just, you kind of tell I'm not the target audience. It definitely falls more under your girl looking for an anime that's about romance sort of thing. They introduce a guy who's supposed to be attractive in some way, but he's a project. And the main character is designed to be somebody that you slip into, and for me, I find it hard to sympathize, because the big problem, I call it the waiter test, but there could be a more general term for it. It's just that this is a concept in dating where you intentionally pay attention to what the person you're dating, how they interact with the waiting staff at restaurants that you go to or whatnot. Especially if something goes wrong or something like that. It kind of gives you really good insight into their psychology, because when you're at a restaurant, in that setting, the waiters are subservient to them, and you get to see how people treat somebody they see as underneath them. Do they help them, try to work with them? Do they look down on them? You know, things like that. And maybe the concept shouldn't be just the waiter test, but I consider it the waiter test. And as far as I can tell, this guy fails the waiter test. Like, even if you were to accept that he doesn't want to interact with the main girl or something like that, his actions are less than not interacting with her, and are pretty much kicking somebody while they're down sometimes. I mean, I guess a really good example is that she was on a train, he was on the same train, but there's a big difference between the two of them. He stands 1 or 2 feet higher than everybody else, and she stands about 1 or 2 feet lower than everybody else. So naturally, when this super packed train exits, she can't do a damn thing to stop herself from being pushed out. She's essentially being trampled, and once she's outside and she runs back to the train, doesn't make it back in, he later calls her a ditch for doing that. And that's kind of one problem I've had with these first 3 episodes is she's presented as stupid, but she's not been presented as intolerably stupid. And he just doesn't like stupid girls, as he says. But, you know, as far as I can tell, he's a stupid guy. This is a problem that you kind of see a lot, where usually people try to make a smart person, and they're really not as smart as they really should be. Special A is probably my favorite go-to example, because the way that one is set up, we have a girl who's apparently, I mean, she's really competitive, and she really wants to beat this one guy, and she can never beat him, but this includes everything, including every single school subject, period, where she always scores perfect 100s, but he always gets little bonuses here and there for correcting things on the test that she never caught or something like that. But that should kind of tell you what kind of mindset she should have, because there has to be good ability to maintain details. I mean, this isn't something where studying necessarily makes you a genius. You can study, and you can definitely take something that's pretty good and make sure it's completely nailed down perfect. But the more important thing is things like math. If you've taken math, or you've taken physics, or anything like that, you should probably know that the things, even if you're trying really hard and you really understand the concept, you lose points for little things, little details that you miss. You accidentally switched a plus to a minus. You accidentally read a 9 as a 0. You know, things like that. And with physics, you just have usually problems with your units. You miss that a km was a km instead of an m or something like that, and so you're off by a factor of 10. And that's the thing. If you're scoring perfect scores on stuff like that, then you shouldn't have situations where it's just like, duh, I don't know how to follow instructions, so I'm going to make a rice ball that's a cannonball. Now, it's kind of funny, but it also feels like a character mismatch to me. It's like with cooking, you actually usually have pretty explicit sets of instructions, and you can get something that comes out pretty reasonably, and for some reason, they want her to be the ditz, even though we've already established that she's getting hundreds in things that you can't be the ditz in. So it's weird. And then, of course, that goes back to Itakiss, because at a minimum, if this guy really was so smart, and they're trying to say he's the smartest person in Japan, then at least most sociopaths know to hide that they hate other people so much. And he's being blatant about it. You know, he lives on the same planet as all these other people. He doesn't have to read her letter, but he probably shouldn't rub it in or anything like that. He should. There's a quick anime special. I can't remember what it's called. Darn it. And that one was it was about a girl who professed to a guy, and he rejected her. And you know, that kind of shows kind of a more stereotypical respectful rejection, where it's like, I know you like me, but I'm sorry, it is not mutual. You know, you don't necessarily have to read or accept the letter, but you're kind of acknowledging the fact that the person has these emotions, and as unfortunate as it is not your responsibility to fulfill their expectations, per se. You know, it's a good compromise, and I guess it gets back to the waiter test sort of stuff, where he fails it miserably or whatnot, but no, well, that's just 3 episodes. Who knows what the next handful of episodes, I guess the next 10 episodes. I guess while we're at it, I did mention that there was nothing about her that made me feel like you would consider her a ditzy girl, other than the fact that apparently she just didn't score too well on tests or something. But, you know, they don't give you any reason to actually hate her for doing that. It's like, I think even my school of romantic comedy, Snafu, kind of showed some of this stuff where you had the 3 characters. You had one who was, you know, they were all supposed to be reading a book as part of their club activity, or not exactly a book, but might as well be a book. One of them went through in exquisite detail. Another one almost forgot that it was there, but kind of went through it. And another one completely forgotten. She was just, you know, at home watching TV, lounging around. And, you know, you don't necessarily hate her for that, but that's the sort of thing where, you know, she's supposed to be doing something. She's not doing it. It's not really that consequential, so you don't hold it against her. But Itakiss doesn't even give you stuff like that. We don't know that she, like, says, nah, I could be studying, but I'm going to go out and do karaoke with my friend. You know, it doesn't even give us something like that to latch onto, which I think all comes around to trying to make her somebody that most watchers, female specifically, could slip into her. Except, of course, there was the one thing at the track meet, the sports fest thing, which, because they hadn't really established that she was really a klutz, it kind of was weird and came out of nowhere. But that's par for the course for this kind of show, and I'm going to keep watching. Its rating is okay, so that means that it's probably not intolerable pissing off sort of show per se, unless it hits some of my buttons, so we'll have to find out. Oh gosh, so much talking. So, again, the reason I pre-ordered all of these Attack on Titan mangas was because Volume 17 of the manga comes out with DVD with the Issei's report OVA that has not been released on DVD, and at least I don't think it has any other means. So, obviously this means I went and pre-ordered next month's stuff, and it's a very interesting month. Like, I think even last year there were maybe a couple things here and there towards the later half of the month, but there's almost nothing for the last 2 weeks of December, except for like I'm guessing the Tokyo Ghoul Collector's Edition is maybe supposed to be in stock around then or something, and this is based on where Amazon put it in the sorted list. And then the other one was December 29th release of the DVD version of Sailor Moon R Season 2 Part 2. Which obviously, since I have the Blu-ray DVD version, I don't need to get that, so maybe I'll have to figure out something else to do for those 2 weeks, or maybe that will be a good opportunity to take a break. The truth of the matter, though, is that I do intend to try and upload some sort of YouTube video, and I just have to figure out what. So, should be interesting. As for what's actually getting released, I'll be honest, I kind of don't remember. I do remember One Piece Season 7 Part whatever is next was maybe there, but there was no graphic for the DVD yet, so it's possible Funimation could be a little behind in that regard, or maybe it's just on time and the data is just not propagating particularly fast or anything like that. I don't know. It should be interesting. We'll just have to see what happens as it comes up. I'm wondering if there's anything else to really mention, because that stuff. Obviously, there was an anime Kickstarter that didn't finish funding. That determined whether or not I was going to get all these volumes all at once, or get the first volume and feel out how I feel about having the first volume, and whether I wanted to read more and continue on. Because at this point, I'll be getting ahead of the animated series. I know that the second series is at least being somewhat worked on, because there was that preview at that anime convention. I did see that preview, and it is very curious, and there's probably more answers here, because this should be twice the material than what was out there in theory. I'm saying stuff. Yeah, I guess go ahead and end the anime DVD collection update here, so y'all have a nice week.